Hello and welcome back to another episode of Stuttercast, a podcast where Suyash and I discuss everything cinema. And we are back 2 long months,
Yeah.
and we were busy with the college work. And I also made a short film, a short mockumentary rather. So please check it out. So I'll put the link in the description and all. Anyways, we are back, and in the last episode, we had a guest. His name was Mr. Yash Kuberkar, and we got a lot of good response because of him. People loved him, I guess, and yeah, and he's
Hopefully.
back again for this episode, and we hope to collaborate with him even more in the future. So, welcome back, Yash. How are you? How is everything?
I'm good. Even I was like kind of busy for the last 2 months. Like now
Yeah.
with the assignments and projects. So, but like
Hmm.
let's have fun. And like this time we're discussing two of my favorite horror movies of all time,
Yes.
and also from two of my
Yeah.
favorite directors. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
let's start.
Yeah,
Let's
and Yash
start
was
then.
actually very busy because we delayed this recording for about 3 weeks. I've been
Sorry.
asking him for the last 3 weeks, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll do it next week. We'll do it next week." I mean, he has interviewed Shakun Batra in that
Ritesh
process.
Batra.
Ritesh Batra,
Ritesh
whatever his
Batra.
name is. Sorry, I'm sorry. The director of Lunchbox. Okay,
Yeah.
the director of Lunchbox, and but he didn't have time for us. So, anyways, let's get
I'll make up for it.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Anyways, let's get started. So, in this episode, we are discussing horror films. And first, let me ask you guys: do you guys get scared in horror movies? So, Yash, do you get scared in horror movies?
Yeah, there's something like satisfying to watch the unsettling things going around you. I love that.
Hmm. Yash,
Okay.
what about you?
Mm,
Do you get scared?
For me, definitely I get scared, but like horror is one of my favorite genres because like it like the power of like you can actually see the power of cinema in a way where like you're feeling these things like you won't generally feel, right? Like you're there in your
Hmm.
house with all these comfortable, I know, comfortable surroundings, and
Hmm.
you're like you're feeling scared and anxious and
Exhausted.
all these things which
Yeah.
is like so powerful, and these two
Hmm.
movies really like will make you feel all these emotions you don't really want to tap into.
Yeah. So
yeah.
horror films put you in an uncomfortable environment,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah. For me, I get very scared. I mean, very scared, and I'm the worst guy to watch horror films with. So don't watch a horror film with me. But that being said, if no one watches a horror film with me, then I won't watch horror film alone. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But I think like we have seen one or two horror films in our childhood together. Like
Yes, we have actually.
we have
We
seen Van
have.
Helsing and
Van Helsing. I remember that movie. Hugh Jackman. Yeah,
I
yeah.
and
think
also
now
like
I'm
Harry Potter Goblet of Fire was also kind of horror for us. We like
Yes, because
we were
Voldemort
kids.
was
Yeah,
a pretty weird dude, I guess.
yeah.
Anyways, so
I yeah, I think
um,
I'm going to prank you at
yeah,
some time.
okay. Anyways, so I've wanted to ask you this question. Why do you think the like Hollywood make better horror films than us? Why do you think that is?
Really.
Yeah, because I haven't seen a horror films by Ram Gopal Verma because I've heard
Yeah.
he has made some pretty decent horror movies.
Because if you see
True, true.
the
But
because if you see
yeah,
the
go on.
old Bollywood horror movies, there's always that one woman in a white sari, and I don't think that's quite
Yeah,
unsettling. I think
Shaitan
people
Haveli.
yeah, there's the Shaitan Haveli and all that thing. You
Yeah,
don't feel disturbed by watching it.
Um,
As
yeah,
compared
I
to,
mean,
yeah, as compared to the films from Hollywood, like we have these two here, but if we take another example of The Shining,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Shining requires a separate episode,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah, okay, so
such an
like we'll do a
iconic
separate
film.
episode, but if you even these two films, you feel a little disturbed about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the main difference.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
like if we're talking about Indian cinema and doing horror, so but like I feel India did have a very B horror genre movies in the 80s
yeah.
or
Which was
70s, I guess.
who were those people? I think Ramsey
Yeah, but like I
brothers,
think
right?
like
Yeah.
those movies are like kind of lost now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
but I think those were like probably like they explored genre in that sleazy B horror way,
Very
right? But
cheesy,
yeah,
very
but at least
cheesy.
they're
Yeah.
kind of honest about how they
Mm-hmm.
explored genre. But now,
yeah, yeah,
Like they
yeah,
know what they. Yeah, yeah.
like
yeah,
they knew what they're making. But now, if you see
Mm-hmm.
all these, the new horror in Bollywood is just like a couple going to some old house for having sex. That's it.
Yeah. Let's get into the first film of the day. And the film that we're going to discuss first is a film called Hereditary. And I'll tell Yash to introduce the film because I know that's his favorite film, one of his favorite film at least. So Yash, why don't
Okay,
you
so
take over?
yeah, and like one funny thing, like Kaushik told me we'll do a horror podcast like 3 weeks back,
Yeah,
and that time he told Hereditary and Lighthouse, but for some reason
mm.
I kept thinking it was Midsommar and Lighthouse. So yesterday actually
Lighthouse,
I rewatched the director's cut of Midsommar.
Midsommar. Yeah,
Yeah, and I thought like it'll be a perfect day for us to talk about Midsommar today because today is summer solstice and today they do celebrate Midsommar in Sweden.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
hey, I didn't know that. Oh shit, we could have discussed that. I haven't seen the film yet, so ah,
yeah. No, no, like we'll talk about Hereditary. We'll start off with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So basically,
Definitely cool.
like for introducing the movie Hereditary, I'll just like I'll read the letterbox, the plot synopsis.
Yeah,
So
good.
it is basically when Ellen, the matriarch of the family, the grandmother in the family, she passes away. Her daughter's family
Yeah,
begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. So
yeah.
it kind of revolves around her grandmother's death and her involvement
Grandmother's
with
death.
some, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
some fucked up
Fucked
things.
up shit. I know, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I have seen this film like 3 times fully till now, and like
Hmm.
I'll assure you it gets funnier on every rewatch. Like I think, and that's true for all the Ari Aster movies.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
I've
first
seen
time
it
it
only once.
terrifies
Yeah.
the shit out of you, but like it does get
Yeah.
funnier. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, for me, I get scared in every single horror film. So you can't judge the scariness of a horror film based on my judgment.
yeah.
Hereditary, I was terrified.
hmm
Yeah. So yes, do you want to say? Because after that we'll start with the in-depth analysis of the film.
Dude, Hereditary is quite unsettling and kind of. So, what I'll do is if I watch Hereditary in a cinema, I'll probably leave and go to a church.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and in depth
Yeah,
discussion.
no, so so when I watched Hereditary, I've seen it only once. First of all, I was shit scared. I was avoiding that film for at least 6 months now. But I finally
yeah,
grew a pair and I watched it. What I really enjoyed about the film is that it isn't your typical horror film. It's not something which I like to call slapstick horror. Like you
Yeah,
have your slapstick comedy, right?
yeah.
yeah.
And most of your generic horror films, they're slapstick horror films, but Hereditary does not fall into that category, and it's a fantastic movie. I love the movie with all my heart.
Mm-hmm.
so good, and I would actually categorize it as a family
Yeah,
drama
family drama.
with
Yeah,
with paranormal activities or paranormal stuff as the backdrop,
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
film is essentially about the relationships, right? The relationship of a mom with her kids, with
mm.
her husband, and
Husband,
even with herself,
and with her mother also.
with her mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And this is one of the few horror films which actually give a shit about its characters,
Hmm.
right?
Mm.
Because if
Yeah.
you see your Conjuring films, like I like those as well. Like I think it's great fun to watch a film like Conjuring and stuff. But there is no attention to characters, and it's very on the surface level. Their main purpose is the jump scares, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think in this film, way the characters are written and the way information about them is revealed, it is so good. Yes, do you want to add something to it? Like the
Like
screenplay, the
like you
story, the
said, like the because
yeah,
like you don't see a lot of horror films, right? But like still this movie
mhm,
is very like it hit you and it's very personal because uh
exactly.
Ari Aster built these family dynamics in a very realistic way, and like he paid
Very
so much
realistic.
attention
Yeah.
to the characters, right? Like if you
Mhm,
remove
Yeah.
the entire horror aspects out of it, like it still work as a great family drama. And
exactly.
that's like and you like you rarely see it with other horror films like the Conjuring films or anything, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like these have enough like strong characters to sustain without the genre
Without
tropes.
the
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And like
Uh,
even Ari Aster said that when he was in the pre-production of this movie, he
mhm,
showed a lot of drama films to his crew. Like one of the films he showed was
okay.
Bergman's Autumn Sonata, which has a
Oh
beautiful
yeah, yeah.
relationship between a mother and a daughter. So like
Mother, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like the other films he showed was like Don't Look Now. It's this Nicholas Roeg's
Don't look now. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah horror film about.
I
It's
haven't
also
seen
about
it though. Yeah.
a couple losing a child, and it's about grief and all those things. And also definitely Shining. Like
Mm.
Shining is
Shining is like
yeah, like it has
it's
that
evergreen.
looming feeling of a dread. Like the threat
Dread,
is
Kind
exactly.
of a
yeah
Mm-hmm.
psychological horror.
yeah.
Mm. Um, yeah. So Suyash, do you want to add something to the I don't know the screenplay, the story part of the
I mean,
film,
you
the
guys said
characters and all?
everything.
Yeah.
And also like one more thing, like what Ari has said about the story was like it's about a sacrificial ritual told from the perspective of the lamb. So, and you really
Yeah.
see that, right?
Oh,
So the whole
oh,
movie
damn.
is
Yeah.
basically you're watching it from a perspective of a sacrificial lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
The lamb being butchered. Yeah.
I the movie is I think a little bit influenced by the Rosemary's Baby.
Mm.
I
Have you
haven't
guys
seen
seen
it.
it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's Roman
Yeah,
Polanski, right?
I think a
Yeah.
little bit.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
DiCaprio mentions it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but have you guys read the screenplay
I
of
haven't.
Hereditary?
No.
no,
You have.
no.
Okay, so now we are sort of starting to get into the spoiler territory. So if you haven't watched the film, please go and watch the film. So one of the best scenes in the film is the scene where Charlie dies in the very brutal car accident,
Yeah.
right? And if and that scene, like the built up to that point, is so good. Like in
Yeah,
terms of the
Mm.
way it is like edited and performed,
Yeah.
right? So if you read the screenplay, right, there
yeah,
are a lot of white spaces. So the descriptive part. Okay, so Charlie frantically rolls down her window, desperate for air. Then there's a white line or a space, right? Then next
yeah,
paragraph is Peter continues 70 miles per hour. Charlie forces her head through the back passenger window. She gasps for breath, but her throat is swollen shut. She can't even scream. Peter continues accelerating 75 miles per hour. Charlie sticks her squealing head even farther out the window. Right. So if you read it properly, right, so the white lines, I think it represents cuts. So I
Hmm.
was watching it last night. That
Yeah, yeah,
particular scene with the screenplay next to it, and it is like so brilliantly done. It takes some
yeah.
masterful film making to construct a scene like that. And do you guys have anything to say about that? The
Yeah, and like
screenplay?
So,
another cool thing
yeah,
about that scene is like the foreshadowing which happens, right? Like,
Exactly. The
yeah, like
symbol
if you
on the
see,
pole. Yeah,
yeah, like the way he frames that shot when they're going to the party, and
yeah. Yeah,
there's a beat where it's just the pole center framed, right?
yeah.
And if you see, like talking about Midsommar, also that movie is like filled with foreshadowing, like this like 10 times as much as Hereditary does foreshadowing,
yeah,
and
Oh,
still you'll be like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
amused, like you'll be stunned by how this guy is pulling off all these things.
yeah. And he's what, 33, right?
Yeah,
He's very young.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Midsommar was his second film.
And have you guys seen
And
his
he
short
like
films which he made?
he didn't
I know. I have.
the film which was a thesis film. The strange thing about the
Anything
Johnsons.
about Johnson? Yeah, it's one of the
Yeah,
No,
most
I haven't seen.
fucked up short films you'll ever see. Like
yeah.
it'll it'll
Oh,
mess with your
I
mind.
think he did it
Yeah,
for
I,
AFI, and even in that shot which you said before, he didn't shy away from this from showing all the graphics or
no,
unsettling things.
of course. And I think
Yeah, go ahead.
you cannot talk about Hereditary without talking about the iconic dinner table scene.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I can see that scene like
Yeah, right in front of
forever.
my eyes. Yeah,
It's so good. The acting, the framing, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube which breaks down the framing and all that of the scene. Yeah.
and like you said, like
Yes.
even if you see both Hereditary and Midsommar, Ari Aster has these amazing female characters, and like these,
Mm-hmm.
like Hereditary you can definitely call a horror movie, but Midsommar is more like a fairy tale, folk horror tale, right? But like he
Okay.
has these amazing female characters in both, like,
Mm.
and
yeah,
Toni Collette gave an amazing performance. Like,
Brilliant performance.
brilliant
yeah,
performance.
and also
And even
there's this
Alex.
trope where female characters in horror movies, like the other director which we are gonna discuss, Lighthouse, his first movie, The Witch, has an
Mhm.
amazing female character. Even
Yeah,
Hereditary,
yeah.
or if you want to get into like cosmic horror movies, Alien has an
Alien,
amazing
yeah.
female character, or
Yeah.
Possession.
Yeah,
It's this 1981 movie which has an amazing female character. Like all these
Mm.
movies, and there's also an indie movie which came out in 2015 called It Follows.
It follows. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you
that
seen
It
this
also.
follows.
film called Suspiria? I think it's an
Yeah,
Italian
yeah, I've
film.
seen. Yeah,
Italian or French one. Not
yeah.
I saw that a
Yeah,
while
even
ago. So I
like Suspiria is about a coven of witches, so it's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's all female
yeah.
characters. Yeah.
And like both the movies, the first one and the second one, they're so distinct that it's hard to tell. Like
Mhm.
the second one is a
Oh,
like it's a very original remake of the first one.
oh.
And also, like talking about foreshadowing, there's one more thing in the movie where Annie goes to the therapy, right, after her
Mhm.
daughter dies.
yeah,
Yeah.
There she is talking about how her mom and how her father died, or how her brother died, right?
To the
So
mother.
so
she
Yeah.
literally says like her brother accused her mom of putting beings into him, and that is
yeah,
like the
Mhm.
complete movie, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's the
that is even I
that is
wanted
the
to
film right
highlight
there.
that thing that her mother, the grandmother, tried these rituals right onto her son. He
Mhm.
then
Yeah,
he accused, it didn't work out, and then she went for the another generation. She tried there. So So as we did talk earlier about the we see the movie through the perspective of a sacrificial lamb.
And also, like, one more aspect of the movie why I love this movie so much, like, there's cult and there's all these unseen forces, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
still, it scares me so much is because of the generational things which are passed on to you by your previous generation, like the emotional abuse or the
Yeah.
miscommunication which is passed on through by Ellen, through Annie, like, and to her children as well. Because
Mhm.
as hard Annie tries to like avoid all these things, but like she can't run away from the fact, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, the way Annie deals with it is like she makes these recreations of moments of her life, like through these,
yeah,
like that's an integral part of her life, like, so that's
yeah.
also from her perspective of way of gaining control over her life.
Mm. Through
Yeah,
making
and there's
those
like
dollhouses and all.
this scene was like really funny on the second watch where she's recreating the scene of how her daughter died,
Yeah, dude.
and
The
that is,
first time watched it, I thought like this is so bizarre and weird, dude.
yeah, but like the way she reacts and all, it's very funny.
Yeah.
And again, like, the going back to the initial part, like the scariest thing about Hereditary is how futile everything is, like, and our lives are controlled by these unseen forces and these people,
Awesome forces.
and how much ever we try, there's gonna be, like, there's no hope basically for these characters.
Yeah, we don't
Hmm.
even know who those people are.
Mm-hmm. And like
So
these things are like, if you see, there's two or three scenes where Peter is in his classroom, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And over there, the they're actually discussing the themes of the movie. So if you pay attention, they're actually talking about uh, a story where the character is so helpless and so
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
yeah,
know, like he has been, like, he tries to change his life and tries to change the fate, but like all his attempts are futile in a, and that, like, they're talking
Yeah.
about how that is the real tragedy of that story, and which is true
Hmm.
for Hereditary also. I was so scared after watching it for the first time. I used to like check on the upper corners of the room after entering for like one whole week.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
are we gonna talk about how visually the film was great,
Yes, of
the
course, of
camera
course.
work,
So
the
I have
lighting?
some. So I have some interesting facts
Yeah,
about the film. So first of all, visually, this film is absolutely brilliant. So most of the interior scenes were done in a studio, which allowed the filmmakers to move the walls and place the camera where they couldn't have
in a
located
real
things.
location, in a real house.
Yeah, and which gave the film a dollhouse kind of an aesthetic,
Yeah,
which is what
Hmm.
the Onicolet job is in a film. She makes little doll houses and stuff.
yeah.
Uh, right, and I also like that shots were held for a long time in certain scenes, which made them even more uncomfortable and terrifying.
Hmm.
Uh, I loved it. Who is the cinematographer of the movie? I don't know.
The cinematographer of the movie is this friend of Ari Aster's. They met in AFI, and he has been his DP through all his short films and both Hereditary and Midsommar also.
Ah,
His
Yeah.
name is
yes.
Pavel. Like, I don't want to mispronounce his second
Pavel
name. Is this
Pogorzelski.
yeah?
Pogorzelski.
Por-
Yeah,
Polensky.
And even the editor of this movie is Jennifer Lame, who is editor of the
Ah,
next Nolan movie,
uh,
Tenet.
Tenet. Yeah, oh, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like
Jennifer
she
Lane.
has also
She
edited
also edited
Francis.
Marriage Story.
Yeah,
yeah,
Marriage
Marriage
Story.
Story
Yeah,
also. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah, so good. Uh,
and also like more about like uh like because we are discussing these two directors today, there's this amazing A24 podcast on Spotify where
I've
Edgar
heard,
and
I think
Aster,
all the
yeah,
episodes. I've heard this
Yeah.
episode as well. Where they both,
yeah,
so
and like they
I'll
have
I'll
the
link
extended
that as
version
well.
also. Yeah, they're talking about Bergman for so long. Like there's so much.
Mm, yeah, there is one more episode where I think it is Paul Thomas Anderson
And Savary Brothers, yeah,
and Safdie brothers.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even
Okay. So
there's one with Martin Scorsese and Joanna Hogg as well.
yeah.
So, taking you guys away for a little bit from this, don't you guys appreciate that the movie is the build up, the unsettling things, everything through basically the visuals, the lighting, like the whole
Hmm.
atmosphere, rather than going for jump scares.
Yeah, because I still don't think it's a horror film. I think it's a family
Drama.
drama with
Drama,
with paranormal activities
yeah,
as a backdrop to it. So I
backdrop
don't
of
think his
it.
main focus was on the scary parts. Like, even though this film is scary, especially towards the end of the third act,
Yeah,
um, and that is also one, like, I don't know, a slight complaint, or I don't know. I wish that like they that he would have stayed in the zone of this family psychological drama sort of a thing, instead of going in the traditional horror trope.
But
yeah.
like it's a
I,
horror movie, right? Like that, so you
it's
have
it is a
to,
horror
yeah,
film. Yeah,
yeah,
we have to. Yeah. I just wish that's just my opinion. I won't like cut any points from it, but yeah, it's so good, dude. So good.
Even
But
all
I'm
the
not going to watch it again
yeah.
now.
Even all
I
the
can't watch it.
obsession with the cults and the groups, cult groups, paganism and every not paganism, Satanism and everything,
Yeah.
yeah.
like the way he has shown it. He has not like shown us like said about basically about a specific group or why it, why he choose to show it. It's kind of you're looking over it. It's not like we are going
Hmm.
into deep everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
That
there's
that
so much research done, and like it's a very
yeah,
rich
I know.
yeah.
story, and like
He
actually Payman is the real demon.
yeah, he's a real
Hmm.
demon.
Yeah, it's
Even
great.
yesterday I was searching, I was just doing some search about him, what he is. Well, like he was like he's the kind of an overlord over the three directors, or three, not directors, the three heads of the demon church or whatever.
Mm.
No.
And also like there's these small moments in the movie where there's like a weird blue light shining off of things, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
And that is kind
Yeah.
of like a, I know, an unseen force in a way, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Also, what do you guys think? I mean, not think, the feel about the tongue clicking thing.
Oh,
Oh,
the yeah.
You guys want to say anything about it?
No, I think I don't know why it's there. Like, why that sound only, but that sound is weird, scary.
It is like it. I think like it is basically in relation to like her head being decapitated, and like, it makes kind of
Oh.
that noise. Yeah,
Ah.
which is something I
Hmm.
have read. I don't know if it's
oh,
Is that
like true, if it's correct or not.
hmm,
I did read this on Reddit.
interesting? So, do you guys want to add anything else? Something which you wanted to say about the film? Hmm.
If you
and
love, yeah, if you love horror films, it's great. If you don't like but still go and watch this, it's great. It will leave you unsettling. You'll think about it. Basically, you'll have nightmares.
yeah, and like the
Yeah.
last 15 minutes especially will scare the
Oh,
living shit
the,
out of
the, the final act is, it will scare you.
And
Do
if you get
want some
scared,
treatment.
and if you guys get scared, and I know that you will, there's this short film on YouTube called The Lockdown. It's a mockumentary actually,
Oh
and
yeah.
so if you get
Oh,
scared,
Sorry,
so please go and watch that. Okay.
sorry. Yeah. So if you get scared, please don't go to any church. Go to
Yeah,
YouTube,
watch
search Anant Mokashi, and
watch
watch
Lockdown.
the lockdown. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
so
what will you
Yash,
guys rate?
okay, okay. I'll rate it
sarcasm,
10, dude. Like all the
spoiling
movies we have been talking about have are like my favorite movies. So I'm
favorite
gonna
films.
give
Yeah,
everything 10.
and so Yash,
Yeah.
It's a 5 on 5.
yeah,
I've seen it three
yeah.
times till now. Like I actually saw it
I've
on New
seen
Year
twice.
Oh, you saw it
for like
in.
Oh,
the
go ahead, go ahead.
like I started this year with this movie and like that's why I think it's fucked up.
Oh,
Yeah,
how much will you rate Anant?
yeah, like 10 on 10, of course. Like, at least on the first watch, I don't have any major complaints or anything I didn't like. The acting is great, the story is brilliant,
Really great.
Yeah.
the telling is also amazing.
Yeah.
So please go and watch that. Is it available on any streaming platform in India or in
I
another
don't think
country such
so.
as VPN?
It
In
is
India,
on iTunes India.
oh,
Oh,
It's on iTunes India. I don't know if it's
it's,
available on Amazon or not. I don't think it's on Amazon,
it's not
Amazon
no.
on Amazon,
Prime
yeah.
or Netflix or Hotstar. It's on iTunes India.
And
Yeah.
one more cool thing about it is like Ari Aster actually came to the Mami Film Festival last year.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, and he was one of the guests. Yeah, he was one of the guest speakers. He had a masterclass also.
why
It's
didn't
a
we go
small
there?
thing, but he came to India last year.
Exams. Exams.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, exams.
Exams.
and also actually after he also met up with the director and the DP of this Malayalam movie called Jallikattu, and he praised it
Oh,
a lot on Twitter also. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
Mami Film Festival is doing some
So
good stuff, right? Mumbai
yeah.
International
Now they
Film
were
Festival.
part of that the global film festival.
we are one.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah,
we are the.
I think the nominations were also good.
Hmm.
Like the movie which they nominated for the film festival, they were quite good. I actually like the one Ivale O. Have you guys seen it?
Uh, I
no, I
didn't
didn't see
watch
it.
it, man.
Oh, you
Uh,
should
I,
have.
I
Even
I
that
You
and
should
the
watched a
have.
other
bunch
one,
of
Nasir.
short films. I watched a bunch of short films in that
Yeah,
year one festival.
yeah.
Okay, anyways,
So
that was
let's move to
Hereditary.
Lighthouse.
So please watch it, guys, and let us know what you think. All right. So the next film that we are going to discuss is one of the best films from 2019. It's a film called The Lighthouse. It is directed by Robert Eggers and produced by A24. And yeah, that film is brilliant. It is absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic, and yeah, I'll just let you guys talk about it for a while.
For me, it's my favorite film from the last year. I haven't seen Portrait yet, so but like for now, it's my favorite. For me, I love movies where you can't tell if the characters dreamt all these things up or like these actually happened.
Hmm.
yeah,
And like if you see the stories about these two guys in the lighthouse going mad, right?
Hmm.
Because they're stuck stranded in it, and like the same routine keeps happening, like and like you see a shift in power dynamics and all those things, but like it's the same things over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And other thing, like I think it holds true for both Lighthouse and Hereditary is like uh an outsider's perspective on these events, right?
yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like if someone was to write an article about what happened in these two movies, how
Hmm.
the outside world would see them. Like Hereditary
See
will be
them, yeah.
about a mother who went crazy and like killed
Crazy. Yeah.
her family, and she
Hmm.
had a
yeah,
history of family issues and her
She
brother,
know
and
that,
all those
yeah.
things, right? And
Yeah.
even here, it'll be like two stranded guys because of lack of resources went mad,
Supplies,
and
yeah.
eventually, yeah.
They died, yeah,
And the way Eggers has included details and he has built this atmosphere is really
yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
And he does so much research for his scripts, and
So
that's
much
very
research,
evident
like
from his. Yeah,
right from the way the characters talk to the clothes they wear,
yeah,
and even the pipe which they smoke from. Yeah, everything is
yeah.
so like accurate and detailed. It is blows my mind away. Like it's fantastic. So Yash, do you want to add something?
I actually you have said everything, but it's kind of the two men stranded in a lighthouse, and they don't have all those all the supplies, like they are like, and how it starts to affect their mind, how it starts to affect psychologically. It again reminds
Hmm.
us a little bit about The Shining.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This film
True.
reminded me a lot
Yeah,
of Shining.
And also, like initially when the lockdown started, I would have told everyone like don't like if you're stranded with someone, don't watch it right now because it might
yes.
mess with your head.
I
It
didn't
will
I
at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah. So let's get into the details. So let's start with the screenplay first of all. And as we mentioned before, Robert Eggers does a lot of research in his films. A lot of research,
Yeah.
and everything in this film, like it is there for a reason. It's not there
yeah
just to be there.
Yeah.
You start with the black and white image or the aspect
Yeah.
ratio or the sound design, like even like if you read the first page, so the first line is the rumble of a lonely foghorn, low, faint, the title, the lighthouse, the extremely wide shot,
yeah
fog, nothing else in sight. Slowly a small steamboat emerges, lighthouse tender. It chugs, a tiny blip in a vast ocean. Black smoke puffs from its crooked chimney. Its old engine sputters softly. So even if you read this little line, like there is so much attention to sounds, to the texture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah
Like black smoke puffs from its crooked chimney. It's like poetry. It's very visual. Like you can imagine all this, and there is also a note in the screenplay saying this film must be photographed on black and white 35 millimeter negative with an aspect ratio of 1.19 is to 1, right? So
yeah
everything was pre-planned, like in every single shot, and
Yeah.
like, and we'll get into the cinematography and all that stuff later. But do you guys want to add anything to the characters,
To
like the
like
way the characters written and
this the thing the details you mentioned, right?
everything?
There's like the entire first 4 or 5 minutes of the movie,
Hmm.
it's just them reaching the lighthouse and the other two guys leave and these two guys walk in, right?
yeah
Yeah.
But the way the detail into which he has actually written that, like it's actually 4 pages in the screenplay.
Hmm.
And
yeah
like
Yeah,
I
I
want to
know.
talk about in detail about that one small shot, like one shot where these two are like looking into the camera, and they're just
Oh
looking
yeah.
like the camera level, and they're
Hmm.
looking at the boat which is returning, right?
Boy, yeah, and the camera
Yeah,
cuts
yeah
to the boat where which is going.
yeah, and
At
yeah
like
yeah
first, you think they have broken the fourth wall, but they're
yeah,
actually
but
staring at the boat, which is so good.
yeah. And
yeah
actually, like there's the way he has written those scenes, like the way he has described, like he refers to
Hmm.
Robert Pattinson as young and William Dafoe as old in the screenplay, right?
Yeah,
So
young
he's
and old.
described their physical attributes and how, like for he writes this very specific line which I'll read, which is like these are the kind of men you'd see muttering to themselves at a bar in the corner, right?
Yeah,
yeah
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
yep
also in a way, like for Robert Pattinson, he wrote a very specific line, which is like young sees the boat leave, and like old has left the shot by the time. Now he can't return. Like that's his his chance to return is
Yeah.
gone now. He has to stay there now,
yeah.
and I think like that's very important for his character. Like he can't do anything about it now. Now he has to go
Yeah.
through everything.
He has to go through everything.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. Like the writing is brilliant, and the characters are written really well. And they like the film as a whole is very ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
So like, everyone will interpret it in a different way. It
And
comes to
also
interpretation.
he wrote it with his brother,
Brother
Max
Max
Ecker.
Eggers, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like his brother had an idea about a ghost story in a lighthouse, set in a lighthouse.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
like as they kept writing, they discovered all these things, and then there's
Right.
a mermaid, there's an octopus for a small moment. Like I won't
Kraken
spoil
or
it, but
Kraken,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
We can spoil it now.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing about this film is like I don't think like there's only one major spoiler in the film. Apart from that, I think
Mm,
it's a film which everyone will interpret in a very different way, and
yeah,
you don't know what exactly is happening or what will happen,
Yeah.
right? And it's brilliant. Like and I was surprised by how funny, like intentionally funny it is. Like there are some of the scenes where they joke around and they're dancing while
hilarious.
they're drunk.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
and like they
I don't think
constantly
I've ever,
bickering at each other, fighting.
yeah, fighting and complaining, and I don't think I've ever seen a film with that has blended psychological horror and humor so well. Like the
And
comedic parts
still,
are like intentionally funny, but they never take away like anything from the overall seriousness of the film.
yeah.
Mm.
And it is very gripping. It is sometimes it's kind of scary, but that's just me. It is thrilling as well,
No, it is
and
scary,
it is scary. Yeah, like
and it'll mess with you. And also, do you know these guys actually built the lighthouse which is there in the
yeah,
movie?
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
They
we'll
built the
we'll
lighthouse.
talk about the technical part. I have
Yeah,
a different section dedicated
Also,
to that.
when you guys said about the aspect ratio,
Hmm.
yeah,
don't you think that keeping the aspect ratio to a near square, it kind of make you feel claustrophobic as
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
watch the
course. Yeah,
movie?
that was
yeah.
the
Yeah,
I that was the intention, and it's really good, man. It's really good, and visually also, it's like we'll talk about the visuals, of course. But I
yeah.
think the characters and the acting. Uh, so Robert Pattinson, I always knew Robert Pattinson as the guy from Twilight,
Yeah,
as did everyone else in the world.
yeah,
But I, I mean, the first time I was surprised by his acting was in Good Time
good time.
by Sam Mendes. Whatever, I mean, that film
Yeah,
was brilliant.
Yeah,
We'll talk
the
about
Robert
that. And
Pattinson in that movie is,
so good,
yeah, he's
so
great.
a
good, oh my
revelation.
god,
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing, yeah.
and now
And
he's
but
working with amazing directors. Like in
I
every movie,
know,
yeah,
I know, yeah.
yeah,
He's
and he's
in
the next
Tenet.
Batman. So yeah,
He's the next Batman. So yeah, even in pop culture,
yeah,
he's there.
yeah.
But I think this like the in this film, Willem Dafoe gave a career best performance in my opinion. I think he
Mm,
was
yeah,
just like how good can you be? I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
it's ridiculous how good he is, and it's fantastic, man. I loved his
And
like
like the other
even
cool
the
thing about their
dialogues.
performance,
Yeah,
like these guys actually stayed over there while they're shooting, right?
yeah, I know, yeah. In
Yeah.
Nova Scotia,
Yeah,
they
and
actually
like
found a rock in
yeah,
Scotia, and they built the entire thing over there.
They
Yeah.
built the
and
entire
Willem Dafoe
lighthouse.
especially built like had a tent for himself. Like he used to stay in a tent for like throughout the duration of the
Hmm.
shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really good.
And there's like poetry to even like the scene where he's just farting in the movie, there's like the way
Oh,
Eggers has written those scenes is also poetic.
Yeah, even like I think there he said there are around 12 farts in the film.
Yeah,
Total of 12 farts. Like even the farts were scripted.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Just two guys staying in a lighthouse.
hmm,
One is old, one is a little young,
yeah,
and the old guy farts.
yeah,
Cinematic.
and even like the characters are like the backstory of characters is not defined well.
Yeah,
mm,
Like you know a bit like how these two are as people, but for most parts you don't know exactly who these people are.
yeah,
it's just two roommates. Being two roommates, you know it if you stay in a hostel.
I don't know anything about that. I think such films, and especially this film, I think what drives these films, right? And I will give you some example is the atmosphere,
yeah,
right? And there are certain things that are essential to create that sort of atmosphere. The first one is the cinematography,
Yeah,
and the cinematography in this film is just fantastic. And as we discussed earlier, it is shot in black and white, 35 millimeter negative, and
with an aspect ratio
aspect ratio of 1.19 is to 1. And
which
as
is
Yash
almost a
said,
square.
it creates a sense of claustrophobia and stuff, and it
Yeah,
also gave the film its classic look. Like most of the Hollywood films back in the 50s and the 60s, right? Even those films were shot in this particular aspect ratio, right? And
yeah.
the cinematographer Jaren Blashik, I'm sorry if I'm ruining the name. Blashke, yeah, Blashke. He used lenses which were like a century old. He used lenses which were 90 or 100 years old in certain
They
scenes.
search for it. Yeah,
Hmm. And they use that,
in
to
this
keep
or
it
that
authentic. Yeah,
hmm, and that also gave certain scenes it's like the unique texture, right? Like some of the
yeah,
scenes has a very distinct texture to it. Like the quality of the image is very different than what you will have from a digital camera or with a normal lens. Because of this, they were also vignetting in the corners. And Robert Eggers said in an interview that before starting with the script, he had a certain feel, a certain atmosphere. So he knew that he wanted to make a film which is harsh and which is
yeah,
black and white, and which is very gritty and dusty. And then he wrote the film based on the atmosphere. So
yeah. There's a very cool BAFTA lecture of by Robert Eggers where he's talking in depth about how he wrote the both the witch and the lighthouse.
yeah, yeah.
So like
oh,
even if you mention that in the description, that'll be really cool.
I will definitely. Arey,
I will.
of
Yeah,
course.
we'll do that.
And like the words he used,
Uh,
he actually used the same words, rusty, musty, dusty, for the
yeah,
atmosphere in
dusty, musty,
Lighthouse.
dusty. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The thing is, since a movie is set in what timeline?
1890.
Yeah.
Exactly
So yeah.
1890.
So we get to hear the kind of Victorian English.
Yeah. So
hmm.
Yeah.
very and guys, if you're going to watch the film, please watch it with subtitles.
You won't understand some a few
A
things.
lot of stuff actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the language is very
continuing with
specific.
very
Yeah.
specific, and there's so much research dude. Like some of the words, like I don't think even people living in that area use those words anymore. I'm not
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
but I have a feeling like some of the words I haven't heard. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so continuing with the whole atmosphere of the film thing. the second most important aspect to create a certain atmosphere is the sound design,
Oh man.
right? And here I think
Mm-hmm.
sound design is it's so
Played
jarring.
a it played a really important role.
Played an essential role. And one
Yeah.
film which comes to mind, Eraserhead,
Yeah.
film by David Lynch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even in that, there's this continuous sound of like the fan running around. So even the silences are filled with these sounds. And here
Mm-hmm.
and here the sound design is used to remind us of the elements which surround the characters,
I mean
right?
the
So
yeah.
sound of wind and crashing waves and seagulls and the rain
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
footsteps in the dirt and all that, and the never ending sound of that fog
Foghorn.
which
Foghorn.
just drives you
Yeah.
mad.
Like
And,
it
Yeah.
and
starts from at the very
the very
start of the film.
I think the very first scene,
Yeah.
I think the
And it
sound is like
stays
foghorn.
throughout the film, reminding you guys where you
Yeah.
are.
And also the sounds of the mechanisms of the lighthouse, right? Like the
Oh yeah,
pulley
yeah,
or
yeah,
Hmm.
everything. I mean, the
Uh,
sound coupled with the atmosphere, the cinematography,
hmm.
yeah, yeah.
it's.
And I
I mean,
don't know
I
if you
cannot.
guys noticed it, or if it have happened with you. And I actually noticed this the second time I watched the film. So, like,
What?
foghorn is there for
Hello.
most of the parts, but there are certain scenes when there is no
Yeah,
foghorn, right? But you can still hear it. At least
yeah.
it happened to me. I could still hear the foghorns because it is so prominent throughout the film that it becomes the part of the film.
At some specific intervals or whatever, however it was designed, we keep on hearing those foghorns,
Yeah, yeah, dude.
and
Yeah.
So crazy.
and in some scenes where it's not there,
Hmm.
still we think
You sort
that
of
oh
hear
yeah
it.
we
Yeah,
just
you is
yeah.
there. Yeah.
So that's what our subconscious mind is playing with us,
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
and and it's the same thing. I mean it's the same concept which he tried to which he showed in us
hmm,
showed in the movie where two men
hmm,
on an island alone, they are stranded now, and how the
hmm,
subconscious mind takes over.
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah,
And
I
also
mean,
like for here there's a line in screenplay which is like he didn't know if he was hungover or if he was drunk. Like that's the
yeah,
mindset these
yeah,
characters are in, right? Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
drinking
yeah,
and like the routine is taking over them, right?
yeah,
Like that's
hmm.
why I feel like during the lockdown it's not the best film to see because it'll
It's
mess with
not.
you.
And
Yeah.
the sound have that of the foghorn itself. I think it is like enough to drive these characters crazy
yeah,
because it is so
Yeah.
prominent and repetitive.
Yeah.
Like it's it gets stuck in your mind.
And even one more aspect of the movie which plays a huge part in the atmosphere is the background score, right?
yeah,
Background, yeah, of
It's by
course.
this
Background score, yeah.
it's by this guy called Mark Corwin, and like I think he was also the composer on which.
Okay, okay. Mark Corwin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like the whole album is really amazing. Like if you hear it at night by yourself, you'll be having
Scared.
nightmares and something. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I
go
want
ahead.
to say one thing, not about the movie, the production house A24.
Yeah.
We
Mm-hmm.
kind of like okay, yeah, life is good, but then A24 comes here and reminds us, hello guys, life is nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hereditary, Lighthouse.
But also like A24 is right now the production house which is working with a such a talented pool of directors, and
Yeah,
they are
I know, dude.
these guys are making masterpieces. And
Another thing which like helped in the atmosphere of the film was the production design, and
yeah.
yeah,
in that is like the house that they live in and everything, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
setting, the entire setting of the house, the lighthouse, so good production design, and
And
even like
even
the
with
texture
the
and the beards, right, and
mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
way they drink and the way it has been lit, as it's brilliant.
I mean, can we talk about them? That dancing, although the
Yeah, that
maniac, the dancing like the maniac type,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
and we cannot forget the the most epic thing. What?
What?
Yeah.
Why that scene is brilliant. Like there are certain scenes in the film which are absolutely fantastic. They're one of the most disturbing scenes. Actually, two. There are two scenes which are pretty disturbing. First is where he kills the seagull,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
right? Where he grabs him by the legs.
For me, the whole movie is like the whole movie is a nightmare. Like I
Yeah.
can't point out scenes and
with comedic, psychological,
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, but but even this is like funny. Like it's hilarious.
yeah, it is. It is hilarious, and I laughed more the second time because the first time I was
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was so invested uh, in the
and
thing in the
even
film.
the scene where like Robert Pattinson is taking their poop to throw it in the ocean, right? And it flies
Hmm.
back on his face. Like, I think Egger said somewhere like that was inspired from the Big Lebowski scene. You remember that scene where
yeah,
in the
Oh
end
yeah.
they throw his ashes and it flies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh damn. And another scene which is very, it's not disturbing, it is like uncomfortable, is
Mhm.
when, okay, this is spoilers again, is when he's trying to bury Willem Defoe.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Right, and the character and the camera doesn't cut, and it just dollies in very slowly.
yeah,
Yeah.
In like there's this top angle shot of Willem Dafoe is saying something, right,
Mm-hmm.
and the camera just is just moving, is closing down on him, and there's dirt in his eyes, in his nose, in his mouth, in his
Yeah.
ears, all of
yeah.
his body, and he's still speaking is so uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and
And for
that's what
me,
the film does to you.
yeah, and like one of the other surreal scenes which I felt was the one where he like sees the mermaid for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And there's a cut where he's just running back to the lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah, there are certain montages as well in the scene which are very very difficult to explain why it's there and all that. Like is it
Yeah,
like I said, you can interpret it in a very different way. I saw one interpretation which connected it with religion and stuff.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of
Right? A lot
backstory
of
in that sense,
Yeah.
the
backstory to
Greek
yeah,
mythology. Yeah, yeah,
exactly the Greek mythology. And I saw one more thing which said that Willem Dafoe's character wasn't actually there. It was just
yeah. Like
it
I
was
said,
all
like
in his mind.
you can't tell if
Hmm.
the characters
You can't
dreamt
tell
all of
if
this, right? Yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing,
exactly.
right? Yeah. I mean, whether we don't know whether his subconscious mind took over and is just building things
Hmm.
for him, or if
Hmm.
it's actually there and now he'll lose it at some point.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also like other funny review which I read was on Letterboxd was like people might think it's a retelling of Prometheus and all that, but it's actually about getting drunk with your homie and
Yeah.
almost kissing him and holding each other as you drift off to sleep, which is
Can
true. Which
can
is true.
can relate to
Yeah,
first part, but will never relate to second part.
getting drunk. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I loved it, man.
Yeah.
And one scene which I think Robert Eggers took it directly from The Shining is the scene where Willem Dafoe is running behind Robert Pattinson with an axe,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is very similar to the scene in Shining. And
From The
I
Shining.
instantly thought
Yeah.
of Shining. Yeah, I instantly thought of Shining, and uh, I like such films which, like, it is more of a psychological horror, right? Yes, there is a supernatural like element to it, of course, but
Yeah,
uh, that's not the main thing in the film. It's more about the psychology and the subconscious mind of the
Yeah.
characters, and about isolation and
yeah.
all that stuff. Have you seen this film called? It's a film by Darren Aronofsky. What's the name? Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which one?
was
Mother?
that film where not no, 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 not it's one of his initial films actually.
Pie.
Uh, Pie.
Mm.
Right.
Ah, yeah,
Even
yeah,
that is a very
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
disturbing film, and
yeah.
there's a scene, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I'll say it. There's a scene where a baby is being like sacrificed and killed and all that. When Darren Aronofsky was asked as to why that scene was there, he said, I just included that scene to fuck up the audience. There was no
Mm.
symbolism as such.
I don't
Anyways,
remember that scene. I've seen it long back, but
yeah, I don't know if it's that movie or some movie by Darren Aronofsky, but there is a scene where he's sacrificing a baby. So,
oh,
yeah,
I didn't think
yeah.
because Pie was about this guy who's
I
obsessed with.
don't think it was
Yeah,
Spy. I don't think it was Spy.
yeah.
I think
I
it
didn't
was
think it's Pie. Yeah.
else, yeah.
yeah.
Mm. So, anyways, do you guys have anything else to say about the Lighthouse? Any complaints you guys have? I don't really have it.
There's
I
nothing I
I don't
can.
have any
Nothing.
complaint with the movie. I have with the Academy.
How did they not nominate Willem Dafoe? I mean, I don't get this. Okay, they nominated
Yeah,
him for the Florida project, but not for
yeah.
the Lighthouse. I don't understand this. Like,
But
I
like
don't get it.
even like Academy has a very specific and no taste in
Yeah,
nominating.
the like Oscar
Yeah,
bait films. Like, mm,
yeah, but still, don't you think shooting with a lens which is 100 years old, all the technical details, all the that how the atmosphere was created, the amazing performances by both of them, and everything, still we don't have anything.
But like I think there's a other award show called like there's an other award called the Independent Spirit Awards.
Yeah, yeah,
Interest, which
Yeah,
is
and I
also
think
very
over
prestigious.
there they
I
won the
think it
best
won
cinematography.
yeah,
and I think Best Actor went to Sandler.
Willem Dafoe.
Adam
No,
Sandler.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. Sandler and also
yes,
Willem Dafoe also I think he won something.
yeah.
I think he won the Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yeah.
I still haven't watched Uncut Gems. It's
You
on my
have
watch
to
list.
watch
So
it.
I want
You
to watch
have
it.
to watch it.
There's so many movies I have to watch.
Yeah.
I haven't. Anyway, so I think that's it. Do you guys have anything
Yeah.
else to say about the movie? Yes.
I don't think
No,
so.
man.
I think the audience will get more about it rather
More
from
about it, yeah,
listening to
because
from
because
Eggers
let's listen
and
to us speak.
yeah, yeah,
this is one movie which everyone has to just experience and interpret in their own ways.
mm,
Mm. At least
I mean,
watch it
we
once.
can just share. We can just share our views here and what are we think about it. But you guys have to watch it.
Mm. We'll link all the lectures and videos about the two films in the description
yeah,
below. So please watch it.
and
They
also
will
the A24 podcast of Eggers
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Hereditary.
please listen to that podcast. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
also have one episode with Greta Gerwig and
yeah, Greta Gerwig and Barry Jenkins.
yeah, yeah. They
Barry
are.
Barry
Jenkins.
Jenkins.
Yeah,
Yeah. Barry Jenkins is a very good filmmaker. I just watched if Beale Street Could Talk the other day.
talk.
It's pretty
Mm,
good. How much do you rate the film? I
it's
mean, 10 on
almost
10,
same. Yeah,
5 on 5,
yeah,
10 on 10, yeah.
yeah,
I don't think you have to ask about it, but still, it's fire on fire.
5 on 5, 10 on 10, 10
Yeah,
on 10.
yeah.
yeah,
Alright, so that's it from this episode of Stuttercast. And in this episode, we discussed horror films. There are many more horror films which we will discuss in future. We haven't touched upon uh, the Exorcist and Shining and all these classic horror films. So we
And
will
I think there's a
discuss.
lot of, like, for me also personally, there's a lot of horror cinema which I haven't explored. Like,
Yeah, same.
there's,
Because I
yeah, there's
don't
a
watch
lot of
horror films. I watch
Japanese
movies.
horror which,
Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard it. Very good.
yeah,
I've seen The Grudge. Have you guys seen The
mm,
Grudge?
yeah,
no.
The
I mean,
Grudge
like the
is
classics. There's like Ari Aster said, like for him, the inspirations for Hereditary were these movies, like
hmm,
the Japanese movies, no, called Oni Baba,
yeah.
or
Oh,
yeah,
there's one more called Ugetsu.
Ugetsu.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and for some reason, there's this Japanese movie called Hosu. I think they call it Hosu, which has this weird cat in the poster. Like even that is something which has like intrigued me, but like it'll take some time for me to watch it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, it's
I
weird.
can't watch horror films alone, so I won't watch it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's it for this episode. Yash, do you have any recommendations? Something that you've watched in the last whatever uh, 3 months?
I
Last
like
20.
I haven't seen a lot of movies,
Same.
but like
I
I've
haven't.
been like the I'm watching the sitcom currently called Veep, and even that's really amazing. And it's by
I'm
this
watching
creator
this.
called Armando Inachu,
Okay.
and he has made this movie called The Death of Stalin. It's the same guy.
yeah.
I
Oh, I've
know
seen the
it's
movie.
Death of
Yeah,
Stalin
I've
is
seen that
on
movie.
Amazon Prime,
It's on
by the way.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, I've seen
yeah.
that
Yes, if
movie.
you haven't watched it, watch it, watch it.
He is an amazing creator, writer, director.
Mm.
So,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
Veep is there on Hotstar, so you can check it out.
Mm. Yeah, I've been watching this sitcom called The Peep Show.
Hmm.
yeah,
It's a British sitcom. It is so good. British humor is the best, dude. Yeah,
Right.
The Peep Show. It's on
Is it there on
Netflix.
any platform?
Netflix. Yeah.
I'd like to recommend Mubi to
Movie, of
everyone
course.
out there because like because there's so
Um,
much stuff on Mubi.
there's a great platform to discuss.
Yeah,
yeah,
To
and to
explore
discuss
like
so much cinema. Yeah,
so many like films that you haven't even. There are documentaries as well, I guess.
yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of documentaries, I made a mockumentary, so watch that as well. It's the third time I'm at. Yash, did you watch it?
Yeah. I
You
haven't seen
did.
it fully. Sorry,
You
I'll
are
watch
my
it.
god. I'm going to kick you out.
I'll I
You will
I
not be
will
doing
watch it, and
podcast anymore.
I will discuss it with you in detail after I see it.
Yeah, sure. Please watch it right now if you can after
yeah. Like,
when
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are done.
why not
I'll,
watch the mockumentary which was made in this lockdown
Yes,
called The
yeah. By the way,
Lockdown.
yeah.
Yeah,
So watch it, and yeah,
and
that's it from this episode. We will try to be more consistent whenever we get time. We'll record and stuff. But for
yeah,
now, this is it. All right. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you in the next one.